NightChild reviews Prince. We're looking at Graffiti Bridge, Day 5, Track 5, the song Elephants and Flowers. Now, this was originally recorded in 1988, though with slightly different lyrics, and obviously got released on the Graffiti Bridge album as part of the film. It was kind of the scene where everybody was walking out on Prince because this was his spiritual vibe, and they didn't like that. They wanted a kind of more, sort of straightforward funk music, and they were kind of turning his back on him, and Aura arrives. So it's kind of a key scene in the movie. But this is quite an interesting song. It starts off with these soaring sounds, these kind of welling, soaring sounds, and then it's kind of what can only be described as like this roar begins. It's kind of an electronic roar. You've got drums, you've got guitars, you've got a kind of steady electronic beat that comes into play. But Prince's voice is kind of hoarse, like rasping, this gritty voice. He's kind of really pushing his voice. It's a bit like, I suppose you could say, songs like Shut This Down or My Name Is Prince, but it's slightly lower in the mix, but it's kind of, his voice is just, really pushing it to the edge. It's some great, interesting lyrics. It's quite a spiritual song. And Prince talks about being kind of lonely on a burning hot summer night, looking for some action, looking for a fight, and later on he talks about he's looking for a saviour in a city full of fools, and he's how can he find a shy angel in a city so bold, and he kind of he's searching for this love, this transcendent spiritual love. There's, for me, the best part of this is the part where he sings, "Here we go," and it goes, love, the one who gives us the power, love, the one who made everything, elephants and flowers. And it's about how love kind of changes everything, and he talks about this in a very spiritual, very religious sense, where he talks about love is the one that makes everything all right, that love is the one that kind of changes everything, love is the one that creates everything. So it's quite interesting how he does that. There's a part also in this where he sings the lyrics, and then towards the end of the chorus, everything will stop and it'll just be Prince's voice. It's kind of multiplied, so it sounds much louder in a mix, and it just goes, "There will be peaceful those who love God a lot," and it's very explicit. Then this is about God and about his belief in God. I think also it's quite interesting about how he talks about when he falls in love, there will be no more confusion, there will be no more tears, there will be no more enemies, so that eliminates all the fears. So it's kind of like talking about how being in love will change everything, and eliminate all the fear, and there'll be no problems at that point. This spiritual love that he's searching for. But it's also quite earthy as well. He talks about hot sweaty lights paint a picture of red and gold on a crowd of naked bodies stripped down to their very souls. So it's kind of like this battle between the spirituality and the sensual, which is so important in Prince's work. When you think about Prince, he very much defines people in the sense of they have a spiritual side and they have a sexual side. This constant kind of arena of battle. Sometimes he's more at home with his sexual side, sometimes he's more at home with his spiritual side, but there's always that element of both within his music, and that's what makes it quite interesting, because it really expresses the human condition. But it's quite an overlooked song, I think. I think there's so many songs on this album. Obviously, each one doesn't perhaps claw for your attention as much as some of the other songs. It's not an obvious song to go to. But I think it's quite an interesting song. It's obviously very key, very in keeping with the whole theme of the Graffiti Bridge album about spirituality. So at the end of the day, Prince is just, as he says in the song, just looking for an angel to hold him to the morning light. And this is one of those songs about Prince's spiritual angst. It's quite interesting because obviously Prince's spirituality has changed over time, and we've had spiritual songs throughout his career, but they've often been different. We have the love sexy songs, we have the songs on Graffiti Bridge, later we have the Rainbow Children, and we kind of have these different spiritual songs. We obviously think of classics like The Cross, for example, and Anastasia, and it's just quite interesting how this is another one of those songs which kind of talks about the spiritual growth in a very kind of accessible way. I don't think you have to be particularly religious to enjoy the song. It's not like that. I think it's quite an open message about love, really. He conflates kind of God and love, and it's quite interesting the way that he does that. So it's quite an interesting song, and really just part of the Graffiti Bridge kind of theme, if you like. The next song we're going to look at is a song by a young guy at the time called Tevin Campbell, and he wants you to go round and round.